I just thought I'd do a quick little video, just a short video, just going over wood chip. Um, I mentioned it quite a few times in a few of my videos to do the veg garden and to do with my firewood production. That I chip all the brashy part of my trees. I log anything up that's over, an inch or two sort of size, and the rest gets chipped. Um, so that is done by a friend of mine. He borrows a big chipper from work, like a 7.5 inch chipper, and he comes in and we spend one morning chipping all that up. A lot of the smaller stuff, so I've got a pile here, the last of it this year. This is all smaller coppice and hedge pruning, so I've got a lot of laurel, just branchy stuff here, and smaller stuff that I've raked up in some bags over here. So what I do with this stuff is I run this through my little chipper. I call it Nunu because it looks a bit like Nunu off the Teletubbies. Not that I watch the Teletubbies, not anymore, when the kids were young. But yeah, so it's called Nunu. The hedge trimmings and things go in the pipe at the front. That was a big long pipe that was used for leaf sucking. You'd drive this up to the borders and you'd suck the leaves out the borders. The pipe long since perished, but I kept a bit of it just to keep some safe distance away from being sucking your gloves or whatever into the blades. And then the bits of wood, the straighter small coppice goes in this chute here. So it takes about just over 2 inch branches. It can be a bit of a pain because it's such a narrow spout. If you get anything that starts to branch, I mean, there's not much here that does it. This is all small stuff, so I can kind of force it in, but anything that branches a bit, if the branches are quite rigid, you have to lop them off, and it can take a long time. This is why anything too big I put through my mate's big chipper, but most of this is fairly straight, and any side branching is small, so I can kind of force it in. The reason I like this little chipper is because the size of chip it produces, I'll show you at the end, is very small compared to the big sort of 7.5 inch chippers that the tree surgeons use, 6, 7.5 inch or bigger. They produce quite big chips of wood, and that's fine for pathways and stuff like that. And I have added it to my compost. It's what I added to the compost I made last year, and I've still got a pile of chip that I was delivered. That's probably a year old now, just over the side here, and I've left that there breaking down to add that as a brown. So there's a few barrel loads left there which I'll use, but I've started using this. I had to fix it up a little bit and sharpen the blades. I've started using this winter because it produces smaller chip which I can add. So all this pile, really, I'm going to try and save it for adding to the compost, to all my grass clippings and stuff as a brown. So this has been here through the winter. I've been producing this. You do need to put a bit of water on it. It will heat up. You'll get some bacterial action, and then it will start to heat up, not as fast as grass clippings and sort of greens that you put in a compost heap, but it does heat up, but it tends to dry out fairly quickly. I think there's quite a bit of air in there, and it just seems to dry out fairly quick, wood chip. So you will need to water it to get it to decompose a bit quicker to keep that sort of action going. So I've got my water storage over here, so I can just bung the odd can of water on there just to keep it moist. So this I will start to use on my compost, sort of mixing it in probably midsummer. I've got enough over there to sort of do the spring cuttings. I should think of grass to add that as a brown, and I should be onto this by sort of early to midsummer. Obviously I've got quite a good pile here, so I'm hoping to make a lot more compost this year. I'd like to try and, I reckon each bay, I've got 3 bays, I reckon I can get a good ton of compost in each bay, and I'm hoping to do 3 full bays every year now, so I can really top up, all my beds well. And I may even turn, I've got my potato patch over that I showed in my tour, over the back here. If I can produce enough compost, I wouldn't mind slowly, as I make the compost, turning that into no-dig, a no-dig potato patch. And you just got to see how I go. Hopefully I can produce a lot of compost. So I'll just start this up and I'll just show you a little bit, just a couple of minutes. I'll speed it up. And I'll fire some stuff through the front shreds, the side chips. With the shredder, you do get a few twiggy bits like this sometimes. So all I have to do is, when I'm forking it out, you know, it's just pick anything a bit big out, throw it to one side. But in general, it produces nice small chip, which is very handy. So gloves, safety helmet with ear defenders because it is quite noisy. So I'll just give you a quick demonstration of how it works and what it produces. Right, so just to show you, I've fed a bit through the shredder and through the back. Like I say, the shredded stuff is a little bit twiggy, you know, not a problem. But the chip stuff, as you can see, really fine. You don't get the big chips. I mean, they're tiny little chips, almost like you'd get from a sharp chainsaw, just a little bit bigger than that. So I'm hoping that this year doing a lot with this little chipper will give me a better quality, smaller chip that won't put too many big chunks in in the compost. So I'm still going to get chip delivered from my mate. He brings me you know, half a dozen loads a year, and I use that for the pathways and for mulching around all my trees. I've got my plantation, my firewood plantation going in. So I'll put like a trug, sort of half a barrel full, you know, of wood chip around each of those to hold the moisture in and to help those come along, keep the weeds down. But yeah, wood chip, it's really handy. Use it on your pathways, between your beds. Just top it up inch a year or something, and it slowly breaks down, and you'll see the layer between the soil and the dry chip on top. You get like a nice dark, almost jet black sort of layer of compost. You know, if there's a lot of green in the wood chip, it's going to be perhaps a bit more nutrient dense with nitrogen. But if the chip you get is winter chip, there's going to be more wood than green in there. But it's all good. It all adds to the sort of humus of the soil and the goodness and all the trace elements and things. And you'll see plants' roots, when you use it around trees, the roots will just head for the chip. I've chipped piles in the last couple of years of all the brash between trees, put a couple of bits of tin, and I've chipped piles in between the trees. And when I've gone to dig the piles out to put around trees, paths, whatever, the following year, it's amazing how quick the tree roots navigate to that chip and start working their way into it. It's just like they know, you know, that's where the moisture is and some goodness is. And it's great for that sort of fungal network, the mycelium, you know, that sort of system where everything works together. You've got all that mycelium there linking everything. Yeah, it's a really good thing to use on your paths. So, you know, get some in. There's always tree surgeons out there. Even if you have to buy it, it won't be too expensive. Buy a transit tipper load or something. But it's really worth using on your paths between beds if you like that sort of thing. Some people like grass, I know, but to me, mowing grass between beds, especially if you're walking up and down it all the time and it gets wet and you end up getting muddy and stuff. The good thing with wood chip is you can kneel down on it and you don't get muddy knees. Um, yeah, I would always recommend using wood chip as a path material because it helps the beds and it's just a really good material. So anyway, we'll see you next time, guys. Hope you enjoy the videos.